Greetings, my beautiful lovelies. It's Emmy. How are you? It's great to see you and welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm going to be tackling donuts. I'm going to be making yeasted donuts, which I've always wanted to make, but I've never made them before. They are my favorite style of donut, just simply fried with a glaze on top. You don't need anything else. I don't need any cinnamon. I don't need any sugar crumble. I don't need powdered sugar. That's all I want. A yeasted donut with that beautiful crackly glaze on the outside, warm out of the fryer. So stinking good. It's my favoriteest donut ever. I have tackled donuts before. I've done 2-ingredient donuts, and I'll put a link down below to that video in case you missed it. But I've never ever made yeasted donuts before. Now, when I say yeasted, what do I mean? Well, I mean it includes yeast. They're the fluffy kind of bready donut, as opposed to the old-fashioned donut, which is more cake-like in texture. This is going to be a little bit more bread-like, a little bit chewy, but fluffy and airy, and just describing it is making me hungry. So in New England around this time of year, apple cider donuts are super popular. I made a recipe for those a long time ago. I think I made them in cake pop version, little donut holes. I'll put the link to that one down below. Those donuts are absolutely delicious and hyper regional. But that is more like an old-fashioned donut, which is more kind of cake-like in texture. And I prefer the kind of Krispy Kreme style of the yeasted donut. So I'm going to be making it today, but I'm going to be attempting to cook them in an air fryer. Several of you have requested this video. Today's recipe is going to be adapted from the King Arthur flour recipe. I love the recipes. Every one of them that I've tried has worked out beautifully. So I'm going to be adapting their recipe for yeasted donuts. I'm going to be cooking some in an air fryer, and just because I'm curious, I'm going to be frying some also, just so I can have that kind of side-by-side comparison, right? Alrighty. Let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to need is a stand mixer, but you actually don't need a stand mixer. You can just make these in a bowl and then knead them by hand. But since I have one, my old one that has been refurbished, lovely Rich reached out to me saying that he enjoys fixing these great machines, and he fixed my machine. He tightened up the head, replaced my planetary because it had a cracked pin. Just so great. I'll put a link down below to Rich's blog. He does this as a hobby, but he does such a beautiful job, and I am so grateful. And I didn't want to buy a new machine. I just wanted my old machine fixed. So Rich, thanks so much for making it happen. In the bowl of my stand mixer, I'm going to add my flour, sugar, instant yeast, and salt. And with my mixer fitted with a paddle attachment, I'm just going to mix this up just so everything gets incorporated. I've got some whole milk here. I'm going to add some melted butter, 1 egg, a little bit of vanilla. I'm using vanilla paste here because I happen to have it, but feel free to use vanilla extract. Now we're going to give this a good whiskey. Add my wet ingredients. So pretty quickly it forms a dough. It's very sticky, and I'm going to scrape the sides down, and then I'm going to let this rest for 5 minutes before we knead it again for 6 to 8 minutes using a dough hook until we get it nice and elastic. At this point, the dough will be nice and elastic and smooth, and we'll grease our bowl, place the dough back in there, and then cover it and allow it to proof for an hour and a half up to 2 hours, or until the dough is nice and poofy. Alrighty, my lovelies, I am back. It has been 2 hours since I let my dough rest. I have it sitting in this box over here. This is a proofer. This thing is so great to have if you've got cold winters and it gets kind of drafty and cold inside. This machine will maintain a nice, pleasant, warm and toasty temperature so that it ensures that your dough will proof. So here's my dough, and look, I'm going to cut out my donuts with these little circle cookie cutters. I've got a baking tray here lined with some parchment squares. Okay. So after I was done preparing this dough, I checked my voice messages, and there was a voice message from my mother-in-law who sent me Aunt Meal's recipe. So stinking great. And her recipe is almost exactly the same as this one. The only difference was in Aunt Meal's recipe, it calls for using both water and milk mixed together. Also, instead of butter, it calls for shortening. I'm going to roll these out to about 1/3 of an inch in thickness. This process will degas and remove much of the CO2 that was in there when it started. Never fails. I'm wearing a dark color again when I am making something with flour. So the recipe calls for using a 2.5 inch to 3 inch cutter. This one's a little bit bigger than 3 inches, but it's a little bit more proportionate to this donut hole, don't you think? Yeah. I'm gonna take the donut hole out and let those rise as well. Transfer them to a parchment lined baking pan, and we're gonna let these rise for about 30 to 40 minutes or until they're nice and poofy. Alrighty, my lovelies, my donuts have been proofing, and now I am prepping my air fryer with a little bit of oil. Just oil the bottom so that the donuts don't stick. I'm gonna preheat the air fryer to 350 degrees. Now we're gonna add our donuts to our basket. There they are. Into the air fryer, 3 minutes. Alrighty. In the air fryer, we do not need to flip this at all. We're just gonna let them bake, and then we'll take them out and let them cool on a rack until they're warm before we glaze them. Ooh, there we are. Okay, let's see how these turned out. Oh my gosh, they look like bagels. Look, they're pretty stinking cute. And we're gonna let these cool down before we glaze them. Now we are going to do the traditional donut cooking, and that's with hot oil. Okay, we're at temp, and we're gonna just slide our donuts right into the oil. Then we can just take the parchment out like that. Isn't that great? So handy. So my oil's at 365, and that is good. And once these get nice and golden on one side, we'll give them a flip. These are looking beautiful. If you don't have a thermometer, you can test with a donut hole. When it starts to bubble and fizz around it and it floats to the surface, you know that your oil is hot enough to fry. You can use 2 chopsticks to flip these over. Gorgeous. This one's a little light. We'll let that one sit a little longer. This one, yeah, baby. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. You're not quite ready. You can get flipped one more time. These ones are puffing up a lot more than the air fryer version. Makes sense. The hot oil gives them that little, you know, that was a highly technical term there. Right? Oh, these are so beautiful. And then we're going to glaze them. Take half a stick of melted butter, add 2 cups of powdered sugar, and about 3 tablespoons of either milk or heavy cream. Mix that all together. Then take your warm donuts, you don't want them to be hot, drop them in, dunk them around, swish them, get both sides, and then use a fork underneath and tap all the excess glaze off. Let them dry for a little bit so they kind of crust up. Alrighty, my lovelies, I am finally back with my finished glazed donuts, and they look marvelous. Here are the air fried ones right here. They look a bit like shiny bagels. And here is that same recipe, but deep fried. Yeah, look a lot more like donuts. Now we can wait for the glaze to dry and set up so it's a little bit more crackly, but I cannot wait to taste these. So I'm gonna go ahead and tuck in. I'm gonna take this one right here. That's what the donut looks like inside. Light and airy. Itadakimasu. It's very fluffy, it's enriched, but it's not like a donut. The glaze is lovely. I love the kind of buttery vanilla sweetness of the glaze on the outside. The donut is very squishy and soft, and the texture is pillowy and enriched and quite lovely. But it's a little bit more like milk bread, maybe a little bit chewier in texture. It doesn't scream donut to me, and I think it's because it's not deep fried. When you deep fry it, you get that really great fried flavor from the oil. And it gives it a certain kind of toastedness to it as well. Now, since I have these donuts right here, there's no need for me to describe a fried donut from memory because I have one right here. Let's rip that one in half. Look at that inside. Let's give that a taste. Here we go. That is the quintessential yeasted donut. You really need that oil flavor that comes from deep frying the dough in oil to make it a donut, in my opinion. So good. Look at the texture of that. Greetings, my beautiful lovelies. It's Emmy. How are you? It's great to see you and welcome back. Now today we're going to be making grilled cheese sandwiches in the air fryer. It seems that you can make pretty much anything in the air fryer. I've seen baked goods, eggs, as in hard-boiled eggs without the water in the air fryer. Everything that you can think of, it's been pretty much said that you can make it in the air fryer. I'm slightly skeptical. An air fryer gets quite hot. It's basically a small convection oven that circulates very hot air around your food. It gets it crisper and more golden, but it also can burn things. Having said that, there are things that I really do love cooking in an air fryer. Chicken wings, for example, are one of my favorite things to cook in the air fryer. I find that it gets extra crispy, no additional oil or fat. I also like making homemade French fries in the air fryer as well. Those are two examples of things that I make on the regular in my air fryer. But one thing I have not ever made is a grilled cheese sandwich. So the inspiration for today's video comes from Casual Cooking. I'll put a link down below to their original video where they show very simply how to make a grilled cheese sandwich in the air fryer. It looks golden, it looks delicious. It doesn't look like you need to do much work to it at all. There are a couple key things that I find interesting though. The use of mayonnaise and butter. Now I've seen mayonnaise used to spread on the outside of the grilled cheese to give it flavor, but also to give it some fat to get that nice golden toastiness on the outside without burning it. I think the first time I saw that was by the Vulgar Chef. He's a big lover of mayo, or maybe it was Kenji. At any rate, I'll put links down below to both of their websites and social media accounts. I'm also going to be doing a Murray's inspired grilled cheese sandwich. So 2 versions of grilled cheese in the air fryer. Alrighty, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to need is an air fryer. My fryer happens to be the kind with this little basket, but any air fryer will work. I'm going to do this at 370. And for time, we're going to do a total of about 6 minutes. So preheat that. I'm going to use a bit of aluminum foil to line the bottom of my air fryer so that if any cheese escapes, it won't get to the bottom and make a mess, right? So I've got 2 pieces of white bread. I'm using Texas toast. I like the shape A, and it makes a really great sandwich. What we're going to do is use some mayonnaise. This is going to be the outside of the grilled cheese. So for those of you that are mayo adverse, try this. I think it's going to be good. In the middle of the sandwich, we're going to add some melted butter. So that's going to give us that great signature buttery flavor. My air fryer is preheated. It wants me to add the food, but I haven't added my cheese yet, so she's going to have to wait. And then we're going to put butter side inside. It's our sandwich inside. Make sure it's not touching the heating element. 4 minutes. So while that's going, let's make the second sandwich. 2 pieces of Texas toast again. I think the original Murray's is done on sliced sourdough, but I just want to know the cheese combination in comparison to the classic American cheese. This one I'm also going to put mayo on the outside. So in a video I watched on how they make the Murray's melt, they put the butter on the outside of this sandwich, but I'm putting it on the inside just so I can compare it with the other sandwich. Gouda, or Gouda, as my roommate in college, Sharon Rose, told me how to pronounce it. She lived in the Netherlands for a little bit and she's like, Emmy, it's actually Gouda. So I've got some Gouda, I've got some very sharp cheddar cheese, and some fontina. Oh yeah, look, already getting some goldenness. Nice. And give this a flip. See woo woo. Cook it for another 3 minutes. Back to the Murray's inspiration. Okay, so I'm adding about 2 layers of each cheese. And this is the fontina. This will give us the kind of oozy, melty, stretchy. This is looking good. Oh yes, look at this. Yes, gorgeous, perfectly golden brown. Not as golden brown on the bottom, definitely on the top though. All right, ready for this? That sounds crispy. That looks pretty good. That looks lovely. Ooh, yeah. Let's give this a taste. Itadakimasu. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's a pretty great grilled cheese. Nice and crispy on the outside. You get that buttery flavor and you get that slightly tangy, dairy flavor of the American cheese. And the mouthfeel that's oozy and kind of sticks a little bit to your teeth. Yes, but I definitely like the use of mayo for the outside of the grilled cheese. It gets it really crispy and it doesn't taste like mayo at all. I definitely taste the butter in there as well, and it goes really well with American cheese. I will say, if you opt for the Texas toast option as I did, go for 3 layers of cheese instead of 2. This is a little bit too bready. I'm sure all of you are already screaming this already. If you use regular white bread, go with 2 slices of American cheese. But if you're using the thick Texas toast, go with 3, even 4 if you like it really oozy. Apparently Chrissy Teigen loves her grilled cheese with Flamin' Hot Crunchy Cheetos. The crunch factor, I think, is really great because you've got a bigger crunch here, but you've got a little crunch here. So the levels of crunch are really pleasing. But what I really like is that Flaming Hot Cheetos have a nice little punch of acidity, a little tanginess to them. And that really is a nice complement to the kind of richness that you find in the sandwich, both from the cheese and from the mayo and butter. I'm gonna cook up the Murray's version just like I cooked up the classic version, and we'll come back and give this one a taste. Look at that. Go ahead and give this a slice. Now, it could be a little bit more melty in the middle. And that has to do, I think, with the fact that I used a thicker toast. See that? It's still squishy though. Ooh-wee. Itadakimasu. I really like the taste of this one. Each one of those cheeses adds something to this grilled cheese. The cheddar adds a ton of flavor. It gives it that really great, strong cheese, aged bite to it. The Gouda makes it a little bit nutty, and the fontina gives us this really oozy, lovely meltiness, and it gives you that kind of melty mouth feel, similar to the American cheese version. Although I found that kind of sticks to your teeth more, and the flavor of the cheese is very, very different than this. This is intensely flavored. It's also richer. It feels oilier both on your fingers and then on your lips. It's just kind of fattier, and it's delicious. I really like this one. Look at that cheese. I think also I had more cheese on this, so the ratio of cheese to bread was more balanced in this one. So if you use Texas toast, make sure you double the amount of cheese because your bread is really fat. pretty common sense. But most of you, I imagine, would use regular sandwich bread that you have on hand. And so you could just use your 2 slices of American cheese or however much cheese as you like. But I highly recommend, if you are a lover of cheese, flavorful cheeses, that you try this combination of cheddar, fontina, and Gouda. I didn't try it with the Cheeto. Little extra bit of kind of vinegary tang and that little bit of heat. A really great combination with cheese and bread. Every oven, every air fryer are just going to be slightly different. How much mayo you put on is going to be a little bit different. But once you dial in those cooking times, this is a cinch, no-brainer way to make a grilled cheese sandwich, and it's perfect every time because that golden brownness is super easy, and you just flip it one time to get it on both sides. Greetings, my beautiful lovelies. It's Emmy. How are you? It's great to see you, and welcome back. Today, I'm going to be making yet another air fryer recipe. If you've missed my previous air fryer videos, I'll put a link to the playlist down below. I've made donuts. What else have I made? I've made a lot of things in the air fryer. Now I'm trying to remember what they all are. Now I'm suddenly coming to a blank. At any rate, so today I'm going to be making a Basque style cheesecake in the air fryer. I have always wanted to try this style of cheesecake since I've seen images of it. The recipe I'm going to be using today comes from King Arthur flour. And the reason why I'm using it is because it says we can bake it in the air fryer. I like my air fryer, but I've never done any baking with it. So today I'm going to be doing my first baking recipe for Basque style cheesecake. So let's go ahead and get started. The other reason why I want to make this recipe, by the way, is because it comes together super simple. First thing we're going to need, we don't actually need this necessarily, you could do it without it, but this makes it a lot easier, and it is a food processor. Alrighty, so this couldn't be any easier. We're just going to combine all the ingredients into the bowl of the food processor, starting with cream cheese. Lots of cream cheese. And 3 8-ounce bricks of it. Now, because we're cooking this in the air fryer, it's going to make 2 small cheesecakes. The standard recipe makes 1 9-inch cheesecake. But because we are cooking it in the air fryer, it's going to make 2 6-inch cheesecakes. Unless you have a very large air fryer. So drop the bricks in there. Have you ever tried making homemade cream cheese? I've done that once before. And it works, although I have to say it doesn't quite taste like cream cheese in my opinion. It doesn't have that kind of tanginess. You know, that kind of almost yogurty tang. Okay, 2. To that we're gonna add some sugar. And I will include a link in the description to the recipe that I'm using today. So, sugar. A good amount of sugar, i.e. a lot of sugar. Salt and heavy cream. It's gonna be delicious. And now 5 eggs. That's what's gonna set this up. Ooh, beautiful. Okay. 5 beautiful eggs. Now we're just going to whiz this up until it's well combined, and the recipe says that can take about 5 minutes or so, depending on the temperature of your cream cheese. If it's warm, it'll come together faster, and all you want it to be is completely homogeneous. You don't want any lumps of cream cheese, just completely smooth and whipped. Here we go. Why isn't it going on? The power strip? Maybe it's the power strip. Yes, it's a power strip. I plugged it in. Okay. Yeah. Oh my gosh. My cream cheese is cold. Midway through this mixing process, we're going to make sure we scrape down the sides because the stuff is thick and cream cheese tends to, you know, be clumpy and stick. So we want to make sure we get everything off the edges. Continue mixing. Okay, do you hear that? The machine got noticeably quieter as it was spinning, and I think that's a good indication that this might be well mixed. I've stopped it a couple times while this was going to make sure everything was well combined, and my timer says it's been about 3 minutes, so. Ooh, yes, look at this. I think we're ready. Get this out of the way. Look at this consistency. Look at that, it's beautiful. So it's definitely thicker on the outside edges, so make sure we mix everything really well. Look at that, it's so smooth. So that's it. That's it for the filling. We don't have to do anything else. Perfectly gorgeous and smooth. So set that aside for a moment. And now we have to prepare our pan. Now the instructions say there are a few different ways that you can line your pan. If you don't have any parchment, you can just spray it with a light coating of baking spray. If you have parchment, there are 2 methods. You can cut out a circle, and you can also make a little border of paper, parchment paper, around the edges. It stands a little bit taller than the pan. Or you can do this crumple kind of method. I think this is a little bit more traditional, and it makes it look like the cheesecake's kind of in a package. So that's what I'm opting for. I'm also opting for this option because this is not a springform pan or a push pan, and I think being able to take the parchment paper and use it as handles and pull the cake out will be a simpler, easier means of getting the cake out, since I don't have a push pan or a springform pan in this size. So I'm going to cut my paper just a little bit here so that it's a square, and then we're going to rumple it up. It's going to be a little noisy. So this pre-rumpling helps the paper stay into place and form into the interior of the pan. We're going to crush this inside it. Roll down the edges. And kind of get it into the corners of the pan. Not corners, but you know, the inside edge. This is a round pan, so there's technically no corners, but I think you know what I mean. Now we're going to take half of the batter and place it into the pan, and recipe says that'll be about 700 grams. So I'm going to go ahead and measure that. You of course can eyeball this as well. This is so beautiful, look at that. 500. Wow, this seems a lot. Oof, 702. Get that 2 grams out of there. Now it wants it back because I only have 698. Oh, 701, come on. Really? Okay, we hit 700. Okay, remove it from the scale. Now we're gonna give a little shake to get it into the corners, and then we're gonna tap it to get any air bubbles out. I have a little imperfection there and I don't like it, so I'm gonna... Okay, good. Alrighty. Now, we'll set this aside and we'll bake this other half later. Next, we're going to need our air fryer. So we're going to put this on air fry and get it to the highest possible setting. I believe mine is 400 degrees. And since this is going to be quite loud once it gets going, I'm going to tell you all the directions now. We're going to bake it for 10 minutes at 400 degrees. And then after 10 minutes, we're going to take it out and we're going to cover it and cook it an additional 10 to 12 minutes, or until the internal temperature, once we take it 1 inch into the cheesecake and 1 inch from the side of the cheesecake. Take it at that spot. Once it reaches 185 degrees Fahrenheit, we can take it out, and then we're going to allow it to cool for at least 30 minutes to an hour before we slice it. That'll allow it to set a little bit, and then we'll give it a taste. Alrighty, so let's get this going. Mine goes to 400. So time, I'm going to do it initially for 10 minutes. Okay, so. Don't you love waiting? Waiting is a good exercise. It is. Any day now, air fryer. Any day. There we are. So pull that out, take our cheesecake, place it in there, gently close it. Okay, I'll see you in a little bit once our cheesecake is completely cooked and cooled, and we'll give it a taste. See you in a little bit. Ooh, look at that. 8 minutes. Okay, more. Whoa, that looks beautiful. Look how it's souffled. It's supposed to do that? I don't know. It seems extra. Whoa, look how tall that is. I don't think that's what they shot in the video. Yeah, let's try this. Mine totally souffled up, yo. Yeah, that's the right temp, I think. Yeah, that's done. Oh, too bad I had to ruin the top of it. Yo. Gorgeous. Alrighty, my lovelies, look at my gorgeous cheesecake. This turned out beautifully. So my air fryer at 400 degrees, around 15 minutes, started to turn this beautiful dark brown color. Then I was going to cover it. But my cheesecake had souffled and puffed up above the edge of my pan. So if I were to put another pan on top, it would have squished it. So I quickly made a little tent out of aluminum foil and I tented it and I cooked it for another additional 5 minutes. Then I checked its temperature and it indeed registered 185 or above. So I pulled it out and allowed it to cool in the pan for about 10 minutes or so before I took the edges of the parchment, lifted it out and let it cool. And now we are ready to slice this, but look how beautiful it turned out. The sides are golden brown and the top is this gorgeous dark brown color without being, you know, blackened or charred. This turned out so beautifully. Isn't this lovely? Look at the sides. Isn't that gorgeous? Pull these edges back. Oh, that looks great. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Beautiful. Look how yellow it is. Oh man, that looks gorgeous. Man, parchment paper is so cool. Oh man, that looks beautiful. I love the proportions of the cake in terms of its diameter to height. So stinking cute. Okay, let's go ahead and give it a slice. Oh yeah, oh, it slices beautifully. Make sure I got all the way to the bottom. Okay, now we're gonna just get underneath here. Alrighty, here we go. Oof. Look at that. That's beautiful. Ooh. Oof. 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 Look at that interior. That is so gorgeous. Okay, let's cut it. Oh yeah. Okay, my first taste of Basque cheesecake. Itadakimasu. Oh, that's lovely. It is much fluffier than, say, a New York style cheesecake. And not quite airy, but foamier and kind of mousse-like, actually. Yeah, it's almost like a different kind of dessert. But the flavors are very reminiscent of cheesecake. You've got that lovely cream cheesy flavor. It's sweet, but far less sweet than New York style cheesecake and less dense in texture. It's lovely. This is about room temperature. It's light, yet it tastes rich. Surprisingly, this isn't as cream cheesy as I thought, even though there are 3 bricks of cream cheese in this. Actually, this cake only has 1.5, but it almost tastes buttery, even though there's no butter in it. I think it must be the eggs. It doesn't taste eggy. It's custardy. Yes, that's what it's like. It's lovely. I like the edge. The edge has a little bit more texture to it in terms of firmness, almost like a crust. And most importantly, how does the almost burnt top affect the flavor of the entire dessert? It gives it a really nice nuttiness. I was expecting it to be slightly bitter, but I'm just gonna have the top itself. It almost has like a crispness to it, but it's not bitter at all. Just really nice nutty toastiness. But this is so lovely. I highly recommend trying Basque style cheesecake. And the air fryer makes it so very, very simple. If you've got a food processor, by all means, it's absolutely lovely. And this size is so stinking cute. I love it. It's just cute. Greetings, my beautiful lovelies. It's Emmy. How are you? It's great to see you and welcome back to my kitchen. Today, I'm going to be utilizing the appliance of the past few years, and it is the air fryer. What can you not cook in an air fryer? Plenty of things I can imagine, but I have yet to cook a dessert-like thing in the air fryer, and I've been seeing this going around, and it is an air fried banana split. I know for lots of you that have been following me and know me, you know that bananas are not my favorite, but that's not entirely true. In baked goods, in banana bread, for example, or muffins, love bananas, love them. So I'm thinking I might like this recipe simply because we are going to be baking our banana not our banana, I don't have a banana, I digress. We're going to be baking a banana in an air fryer and stuffing it with a few things. And apparently it's supposed to be sublime. It's just supposed to be really, really, really good. So I'm gonna go into this with an open mind and try this. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to need is, of course, an air fryer. And I've got mine here. Now, as you can see, my specimen of a banana is a bit ripe. You would probably use one that is not quite as ripe, but we are going to be cooking this. And the riper the banana, the sweeter the banana. So I'm going with it. I'm gonna cut the stem part off. And I'm gonna preheat my air fryer to 400 degrees, and we're gonna bake this air fry, bake, for 5 minutes. So this might make things a little bit crispy, I'm imagining. An air fryer, if you don't have one, or if you're not familiar with one, is basically a small convection oven. You've got a small area and the air is blown around and it's blown at a very hot temperature, so it gets things crispy, but it also burns things. We're not burning anything today. We're gonna be making a banana split. And I'm gonna cut the banana down the middle, but I'm not gonna go all the way through. Like so. See that? There's the banana. We're just slicing it. We're gonna make a boat. So I'm gonna open, ooh, look at that. Push that down, and it kind of opens it up. And this recipe is ripe for customization. You can fill your banana with whatever you like, but I'm going to be following the Jen Joneses and using some peanut butter. And place that in the middle. I'd say about a teaspoon, but again, use as much as you like. Chunky, smooth, make it your own. Okay, so we got peanut butter in the crack. And then I'm gonna use some nuts. I'm using some chopped walnuts. Put them in there as well. Already. Nuts, bananas, and then some chocolate chips. Yes. I'm gonna stuff this with chocolate chips because I love chocolate chips. This is probably about maybe 2 tablespoons. A few more nuts on the top. And that's it. That's our stuffed banana. Place this in the basket of the air fryer, like so. And then we're going to air fry this for 5 minutes at 400 degrees. My nuts are falling out. Don't you hate that? In which time everything should get melty and friendly. And our banana should, I imagine, soften. Well, we'll see. Alrighty, I'll see you in 5 minutos. Here we are. Oh my goodness, look at that. Banana boat, banana. Oh, you cannot see it. Causes. Let me help you out here so you can see what I am doing. So here is the finished banana split. Looks like a little canoe with a little blurb in the middle. But let's go ahead and give it a taste. It smells great. It smells a lot like banana bread. You've got that nice cooked banana smell. And I smell some chocolate. I don't smell any cinnamon though. Cinnamon might be nice, although that would make it more like banana bread and less like a banana split. So, banana split, for those of you that don't know what that is a banana that's split in half and then topped with, I think usually like 3 scoops of ice cream and then topped with whipped cream, and it's basically a sundae with banana in it. But this version is a little bit different because instead of ice cream, we have yogurt and we have a warm cooked banana. So let's give this a taste. So I'm gonna get a bite of the banana. It's nice and soft. And we've got the chocolate in there. Okay, melty, melty. And we've got the peanut butter and walnuts. All right, I want to get a bite with everything. There's the bite. Alrighty, here we go. Itadakimasu. That's delicious. Wow. The banana is nice and soft, and with the chocolate, and you got a little crunch of the nuts, a little bit of the yogurt to make things richer and more kind of dairy. That was good. I think the problem I have mostly with bananas when it comes to just eating them as a fruit snack, just peeling a banana and eat it, is the texture. It kind of gets mushy and then progressively gets slimy, which is an odd thing coming from a person like me because I really love slimy textures. I love yama imo, which is this potato tuber that you grate and it creates this great slimy stuff that you have on top of udon noodles in Japan. I love natto, which is sticky and gooey. I love soft cooked eggs, but there's something about a banana in particular that I just don't really like. But here it's really nice. The banana is soft and warm and it cooks down to more like almost like a pudding-y texture. But the warmth is what I really like. It goes so well with the nutty peanut butter and the chocolate. And the nuts give it a little bit of a crunch. The yogurt works really well in there. This is so good. It totally hits that dessert spot without feeling indulgent. Really good. I have to say, in terms of how it looks, it doesn't look all that appealing. We've got mushy banana, brown peel, brown chocolate. It doesn't look all that appealing. Although if you added some more colorful fruit, maybe some strawberries, raspberries, or something like that to brighten things up, I think it would make it look more appealing, but it tastes delicious. I'm not really sure why I am surprised that it would taste good, because all the things that I put into this, all the components of the chocolate and the walnuts, it's very familiar dessert, sweet kinds of things that pair nicely together. I think it's just my bias against bananas in general, but it is absolutely delicious. Great easy snack, comes together in 5 minutes. That includes cooking time, and you probably have most of these ingredients already. And you can certainly omit or customize this however you like. I could see this being really delicious with some Nutella or Biscoff spread instead of peanut butter. I could see this also done with different kinds of nuts. Omit the nuts if you don't like them. Oh, pine nuts, pepitas, pecans, all of those would be lovely, or maple syrup. I mean, cinnamon, all kinds of things would make this delicious and customizable. Super simple. I just got a walnut that got toasted. So delicious. Always toast your nuts. Alrighty, my lovelies, there you have it. That is the viral air fried banana split. Absolutely up to the hype. Even if you're like me and don't love bananas, you will really like this. It is so good. And if you're craving something sweet, I think this little snack here that comes together in 5 minutes will definitely scratch that itch. Very satisfying, delicious, and depending on what you put in it, relatively healthy. Greetings, my beautiful lovelies. It's Emmy. How are you? It's great to see you and welcome back. Today, I'm going to be making a recipe that was brought to my attention by lovely Lashana. Lashana, thank you so much for leaving the comment down in one of my videos saying, make the imitation crab snacks. I said, what? And then I went, of course, onto the TikToks and found the imitation crab snacks. We're going to be making crispy, chippable snacks out of this imitation crab classic. This is imitation crab. As you can probably guess, this is not real crab. This is fake, as it says, imitation crab. It is made out of fish. It's made from Alaska pollock and water and egg whites and cornstarch, and then a little bit of this red dye is put on there to make it look a bit like crab legs. This is the leg style, meaning this is the stick style, and these snacks look to be made best with this style of imitation crab. Now, I watched a couple of videos on TikTok on how to make this. I believe the original one comes from Vivian Cafe. I'll put a link down below to the original. Also, Albert Can Cook did the recipe, Vivian's recipe for this snack. And it looks super, super simple. Basically, we're going to be taking the imitation crab meat and seasoning it a bit and putting a little bit of oil, and then we're going to air fry it until it's nice and crispy, like chips. Now, imitation crab, if you've never had it before, you might have had it in a California roll, which is a maki sushi, a rolled sushi that has a bit of imitation crab, some cucumber, and avocado. Very, very popular sushi. Although, technically, I don't know if it'd be considered sushi because, I don't know. I'm no sushi expert. At any rate, I'm saying you might have had this before without even knowing it. Now, this is what it looks like that. Da-da-da. So, it's supposed to look like king crab legs, these sticks here. And they dye it with this kind of orange, red colored dye. So, it looks like a leg of a crab. And what's interesting about it is that it has this kind of a structure. The fish that they use to make this is pulverized into a paste and then extruded into some kind of strip like this. And then it's kind of rolled up, so you get kind of this striation in the texture of crab. Although in my opinion, it tastes nothing like crab. In fact, the last time I had this was when I made the sushi bake, which was an excellent recipe. I'll put a link down below to that, which uses imitation crab and mayonnaise mixed together, served on hot rice and then baked. Delicious, delicious. Definitely try it if you haven't tried it already. But let's go ahead and give this a taste. Here we go. Itadakimasu. Tastes just like I remember. Slightly sweet, of the sea, kind of briny. The texture is very homogeneous. There's a slight bounce to it. It's a little bit like if you've ever had those fish cake meatballs in pho, for example, or if you've had kameboko, which is little fish cake in ramen, or in udon noodles. Very, very similar to that. In fact, I believe this fish paste is called surimi in Japanese. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's what it's called. So what we're going to do is unfurl it like this. You can just peel it. And the reason why we're doing that is to get these really thin sheets. And that's what's going to give us the crispy, crispy snack. And the thinner this is, the crispier our snack is going to be, and the faster our snack is going to toast up. So we could use a knife, but I think I'm just going to tear it into strips like this. See? Very simple. And this is already cooked, so that's why you can use it in things like a sushi bake. It also makes a great kind of like an egg salad or tuna salad. If you put some chopped egg in it, add some mayo, salt and pepper. Very, very tasty. So one stick gives us a pretty good pile, and I'm going to place it into a bowl and continue doing this for the rest of this package. And this package of mine is 8 ounces, and I get 8 sticks. So each one of these sticks is 1 ounce. So I'm going to proceed and keep peeling my imitation crab, and then we'll get back to seasoning and frying these up. Okay, be right back. Alrighty, so I have peeled and separated all of my crab sticks. I've got probably about maybe a cup and a half strips here, and I'm preheating my air fryer at 350 so that we can fry these up. We're going to bake them or fry them for about 9 minutes. Okay, before we do that though, we need to season them with some pepper, black pepper. You could use any seasoning you like, but I'm following Vivian's recipe. Salt, good pinch of that, and some oil. This is grapeseed oil, any kind of neutral oil will work. I'm using about a tablespoon. And I'm going to toss this to make sure there's some oil on every little bit. That will help with the crisping. Whatever width you end up tearing yours at, just try to make them consistent so they toast up evenly. All right, now we're just going to wait for this to finish preheating. My air fryer is now ready for me to add the crab, imitation crab. And we're just going to dump that in there. And spread it out a little bit so that it's nice and even. And we are going to fry these for 9 minutes, stirring them every 3. So again, we can get a nice even toastiness. There we go. Into the fryer. Okay, see you in 9 minutes. Alrighty, the air fryer just stopped, so let's check on our snacks. Ooh, that's what they look like. And to me, they don't look quite ready yet. Not quite golden enough for me. That was 9 minutes at 350. So I'm going to give this 1 more minute. Crispy, but not quite golden enough. So a little bit more time, just a schmidt. All right, air fry. My air fryer has to do this whole preheat thing, which I find a bit bothersome, but it is what it is, right? So we'll just do another minute and see how they are after 1 minute. Okay. Alrighty, so I checked on my snacks about after a minute, and I took a few of them out that were nice and golden already, and these ones should be almost ready. So make adjustments with your air fryer in terms of cooking time. So mine's taking it'll take anywhere from 9 to 12 minutes, I'm guessing. Okay, let's go ahead and check on it. Yes, indeed. You see how they're turning golden? So the ones on the edges seem to turn golden a little bit faster. So I'm going to take those out, and listen to that. They are crispy. The ones in the middle are a little bit pale. I'm going to leave those in there a little longer so we can get nice and even crisping. Because we want to be able to keep our snacks if we don't munch them all up. And if they're wet, they're going to get soggy. So we want these to be totally dry. Now, this air fryer has a pretty large basket. If your basket is smaller, don't put the whole entire pack of crab in there because it will not get crispy. So make adjustments to your cooking situation. Yeah, I'm calling those done. Some of those are a little bit paler, but you know what? It's time. Now, give the rest of these a final little shaky. So everyone has some chili powder on it. You can add garlic powder to this, onion powder, cheese powder. Give them a little toss. You hear that? I'm already impressed and I haven't even tasted them yet. Okay. Alrighty, my lovelies, let's give our imitation crab snacks a taste. They crisped up beautifully. Can you hear that? As they were air frying, they slightly puffed up, which I found very interesting, and then proceeded to dry out and get very, very crispy and toasty. Look at the toasty color on that. Some of them got toastier than others, but that is the nature of the air fryer. But even the lighter ones look toasted as well. I mean, they seem very, very dry. Alrighty, let's give them a taste. I want one of these pink ones. Alrighty, here we go. Itadakimasu. Delicious. They do finish a little bit dry on the end in terms of just absorbing all the saliva in your mouth, but the flavor is really good, really nutty and seafoody, a bit like a shrimp chip, but not as intensely shrimpy. The texture is really nice, really crisp and airy and light. Perfect kind of snack texture. This one's a little bit lighter in color, and this has a slight little chew to it. It's not as completely airy and almost styrofoamy in crunch. Still great texture. So when you bake yours, if you decide to make this recipe, go ahead and toast it all the way so you get this really great kind of tan color to it. Then you'll know they're completely dried out. Great flavor. Not too fishy though. I love shrimp chips. If you've never had a shrimp chip before, stop in any Asian market and you'll find them in the snack section. They're delicious. My mom would get them for my brother and I when we were kids. They have a very intense shrimpy, seafoody flavor because they're shrimp chips, and combined with a nice, really toasted nuttiness and a great styrofoamy, airy crunch. And they're lovely. I like the ones that have a little bit of chili in them, which this addition of a little bit of chili flake on top of this, not chili flake, but chili powder, is really welcomed. I like that. And this is reminiscent of that, but the intensity of a shrimp chip is much more powerful than these. These are actually very mild. Great crunch. And as I said earlier, they do finish a bit dry. Once you finish snacking on the crisp, your mouth feels a bit dry. But then you go and pick up another one. These are very tasty and very, very easy to make. In terms of economy, a pack at my supermarket of imitation crab legs was $3.59, and this would make, I would say, an equivalent of a bag of some kind of snack that you would get at the supermarket. So in terms of economy, it's about the same. You are using a little bit of energy and some time to make these, of course, but fun little experiment, relatively inexpensive, tasty, and these are slightly sweet in terms of a snack as well, just a little bit. These remind me a little bit of the pasta snacks I made, the snacks that you can make very inexpensively from pasta. But that process was much more laborious because you had to boil the pasta and then dehydrate them and allow them to dry before you fried them. So you had to do some advanced work. This, you just kind of unwrap, pull them apart, and then just fry them up to get quick and easy snackies. This method does require an air fryer, and if you don't have one, as I said, you can bake these, tear them up into strips, bake them into your oven for about 10 minutes, dry them out a little bit, get some of that moisture out, and then you can deep fry them. So they'll be crispy and crunchy, and they might even be a little bit better because, you know, everything deep fried is better. I don't know why that is, but it's just true. Alright, my lovelies, that's how you can take imitation crab legs and transform them into crispy snacks in 10 fast minutes. Pretty incredible, and I would say worth it if you've got crab snacks legs lying around. Thanks so much as always for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that one. I hope you learned something. Please share this video with your friends. Follow me on social media. I love hearing from you. I learn so much about what's going on in the world from you, so please get in touch with me. Like this video, consider subscribing, and I shall see you in the next video. Toodaloo, take care, bye!
잠깐만. 와! 와!